With the announcement of the Harry Potter TV show, I thought it would be the perfect time to take a look at Hogwarts Legacy. Now, I wouldn't consider myself a fan of Harry Potter by any means. The exact opposite if I'm being completely true. Growing up, I couldn't escape the talk of the books and movies and was a bit annoyed and confused as to why anyone even cared about this franchise. To be blunt, I thought it was just gay magical Narnia, and I still kinda believe that. So when Hogwarts Legacy was announced and I saw the excitement and eagerness of fans wanting to play this game, I felt pretty indifferent until Twitter trannies got angry for no real reason other than seeking attention, and that was the closest I came to opening the door to being a Harry Potter enjoyer. But I didn't bother with the game because I had no interest in it and knew it would sell regardless. It did frustrate me because the developers could have lost money on this game, not J.K. Rowling, which is how you know the offended party is just a bunch of idiots. She was already paid, so they had the rights to the IP. How would she have suffered? Thank God the game sold well and a sequel is most likely on the way. I'd be surprised if not. I finally came around to playing this game nearly 3 years later only because I noticed it sitting in my Epic Games library. So the Epic Games Store definitely is not dying. That's why they're constantly giving away free games. They're just thriving over there. And I installed it and opened up Hogwarts Legacy. The first thing you do before anything else is set the accessibility features, such as left-handed mode, and as someone who is left-handed, this is completely useless to me. Or if you don't need that, you have a menu reader for all you blind people out there gaming. I'm sure that's getting a lot of views. The only reason I bring any of this up is because it's the first thing you see, and it's pandering to the minority, like arachnophobia, really. While certain features are fine, such as the colorblind mode, most of this stuff is unnecessary and kind of forced, and some of this stuff isn't even accessibility features like cursor sensitivity, and of course this isn't even the only game that does this, obviously. Instead of making the game as fun as possible, let's add as many accessibility features for the disabled who most likely don't or can't game. This is retarded. After selecting what you need, you create your character, and I decided to become a black scholar. As you can tell, he's very smart, he's wearing glasses, and I went with Potter for the last name because it sounds close enough to Potter without it actually being his last name. And I actually ended up making my character's voice on the deeper end, and that was a huge mistake. I don't know what it is, but the second my character started speaking, I noticed something strange. I'm not sure if this is an audio bug or something else entirely, but when he spoke, his voice sounded robotic, and it got to the point that I ended up turning the pitch back up because it genuinely became a distraction.
It's a pity we didn't have a bit more time to spend on spellcasting. I presume you've been practicing the spells we worked on.
I have, Professor. I'm glad to be here. Ready for classes to start.
I decided to play on normal, and once I finished creating my character, I started my journey. You immediately see yourself step out of a carriage greeted by Professor Fig. Then some random guy teleports in front of you and joins you in the carriage. It flies off, and I thought my game was bugged for a second because I didn't see reins or a horse of any kind, but quickly realized I'm playing a Harry Potter game. It's clearly magic. I guess they were both invisible. The fat guy whose name doesn't matter warns you of an evil goblin who wants to rule the world and all its banks, similar to another group of people that shall not be named. He reveals he has some sort of magical container that he could not open, but being the chosen one, I open it with ease and was immediately attacked by a dragon. The fat guy disappears, probably dead, because after this you don't see him again, at least from as far as I know. You and Fig jump out and you lose the key but grab it just in time and teleport away from it. You end up in a cave, and this is where the tutorial starts. The game does take a little too long to allow you to fight enemies, but when you do, the combat is pretty fun. Exiting the cave, you find and explore some old ruins and discover some portal to another location. You interact with it and end up in a bank, meeting a banker who is a goblin.
It can't be.
hold back what I want to say. Having played for a couple hours, I haven't seen any female goblins. Are they all gay? How do they reproduce? The Jewish banker leads you, forget I said that. Leads you to the vault and locks you in, finding a secret passageway. I find myself engulfed in darkness, and Fig teaches you a new spell, Lumos, that allows you to complete a light puzzle, and after completion, you face some magical knights in battle and learn a new protective spell and get separated from Fig. Discovering a room, you reunite with Fig and find a vial that unveils your destiny as a wizard. Moments later, the goblin Ranrock appears to steal your foreskin. Fig just barely holds him off, and you're knocked back, and a huge magical knight ascends from the floor and fights the goblin attackers. You find an exit and escape unharmed, ending up at Hogwarts, and that's how the game begins. Fig and I reach Hogwarts, where sorting is taking place, and are obviously late. He speaks to the headmaster and somehow allowed to be sorted. Now I must state this once more, I don't know much about Harry Potter, but I know for a fact I didn't want to end up in Hufflepuff, but I answered the questions and decided that no matter where I ended up, that was where I would be. And I ended up in Ravenclaw. Professor Weasley greets you for the first time and shows you to your room, and to enter you have to solve a riddle. At first I thought this was kind of cool until I realized you don't actually do anything, so that was pretty lame. You settle in, and after a long night's rest, wake to your first day at Hogwarts and meet some of your fellow classmates. Run into Professor Weasley, who delivers a special book, which is basically just an upgraded menu. You unlock the ability to select your magic spells and equip them. Weasley then shows you how to fast travel and questions you about what happened on your arrival to Hogwarts. I say nothing because I gain nothing of value from telling her the truth, and in no time Professor Fig arrives to back up my lies. He tells me to better hone my magic, and I'm on my way to Hecate's class. She teaches me a new defensive spell, Levioso, the most useful spell so far and arguably the most broken, and everyone pairs up to duel. I absolutely destroyed Sebastian in our duel, so he invited me to the school's fight club, or I guess in this case, magical fight club. You attend your next class and meet with a friendly black girl, Natty, who is a prodigy in magic and takes a liking to you and becomes your buddy in the lesson to learn the spell Accio. Professor Ronan comes up with a great idea, and the class goes outside to play a game he made up to test our skills with the new spell, and I had no idea what to do, so Natty steamrolled me. I didn't figure out until the second match to release both buttons instead of holding RT the entire time. And once the class is over, you talk to Natty, and she explains how she's an immigrant from Wagadu and how everyone uses magic without a wand. So she just subtly dissed all of the students for using wands, therefore being beneath her. To prepare yourself for your time at Hogwarts, Fig and Weasley send you and a student of your choosing, I chose Natty, to go to Hogsmeade and retrieve the supplies that was lost. I chose my wand, purchased the supplies, and right after I did so, 2 trolls attacked the town. And as a prodigy ancient magic user, I slayed the trolls with some assistance from Natty and repaired the town. The town tailor thanked me by giving me a fine robe. And just before celebrating my victory, Ranrock is spotted and some humans conspiring with him, and before we could be caught, we run away. And the suspicious men follow you inside, trying to stir up trouble, but Sirona, the tranny, stands firm and doesn't allow them to kidnap you. What is even the point in having a trans character in a medieval fantasy world? Couldn't you just use magic to become a real woman? And this isn't even a real character. Trannies are so dumb, they're fine with forced inclusion in media, when it's obviously just there to pander. You talk to Professor Fig about exploring the restricted section of the library, but are interrupted and told not to go. But Sebastian, being the bastard he is, convinces you he could help, and you sneak into the library at night. With his help of an invisibility spell, doesn't even make you completely invisible, so partially not really that useful. You get in with no trouble, but some mentally handicapped poltergeist finds you and goes to snitch on you.
Have we here Sebastian Solo and his new little friend out exploring where they shouldn't be? Naughty, naughty, you'll get caughty.
Peeves, don't you...
I'm going to tell, I'm going to tell, I'm going to tell.
Sebastian says he'll take the fall for sneaking in and becomes my new favorite character. You grab the book, see a flashback again, and discover you are one of the few wizards who can see and use ancient magic. You bring the book back to Fig and see that pages are missing, meaning someone had gotten to it before you. Enter the hyperbolic time chamber for some training and become the dueling champion. Natty waits for you in Lower Hogsfield and, like all women, has a million questions for you. The conversation ends after my many lies and I hear a commotion going on. As Hogwarts' newest prodigy magic user, I make it my mission to protect an old woman being attacked by Ashwinders, and the woman thanks me for my support and reveals that she's a lesbian. I'm so glad this game has more LGBT representation. Really adds a lot to the world. It genuinely made me not want to ask her any more questions and made me dislike her. You do some puzzle and aren't rewarded for wasting your time, and leave her to beat her wife in peace. Instead of doing main quests, I do some more side shenanigans, and a random female asks me to retrieve a family heirloom that ended up in a lake. And when speaking to her, she had a bit of an ego, which is something I immediately disliked about her, but I decided to help her anyways. The only reason I decided to do this quest is I thought that you could actually explore underwater, but no, you don't. It's lame and gay. I find your prized possession and you are given the option to give it to her or keep it, which is something I do like about the quests in this game. You're given the option of returning the item or items to the owner, and I ended up keeping it from her because she was annoying me and needed an ego check. Most of the characters I hate in this game are the females, by the way. I think they purposely made the women unlikable, or really just a few of the female students and some middle-aged roasty who hates the shop owner because he's more successful than her. Messing around for a while in the open world, I return to school and attend my favorite professor's class, Miss Redhead. I know that's not her name, but that's what I'll call her. Feel free to complain. I haven't seen any of the Harry Potter movies, but I know there is a part in one of the movies where the students replant mandrakes. I'm pretty sure this is a reference to that moment in that movie. Redhead meets with me, flirts, and tells me to come back after class for special lessons. I plant my seed inside her pots and play the waiting game. A lot of this game is just doing menial tasks. The game really slows down and you're forced to do assignments until you learn certain spells, slowing the progression of the story. I meet more professors, learn some more spells, and talk to Ollivander about a missing wand. With no choice, I agreed to help him come to a tower, pull open some cabinets, I guess, solve the puzzle, and get swept off my feet by the ghost of Jackdaw, the man who stole the wand. He informs you of its location without any hesitation, and I go. But before I do, I need to learn a new spell. How fun. This is easily one of the biggest flaws with this game, and yes, I know it's intentional to draw out the game, make it feel longer than it is. I will never like this. I don't care how good or bad the game is. You're really pushed to do the assignments. The way they're set up, they might as well be main quests. To do certain quests, you need specific spells. Finishing the meaningless padding, the ghost leads me as far as he can, and I breeze through this dungeon because I'm the best and no one can stop me, not even the Jewish goblins. Reach the end and speak to Rackham and unlock a skill tree, exactly what I wanted in my magical fantasy world. I'm so tired of skill trees. It's more annoying than anything to me. Games that don't need them force them in any way they can. The dodge is pretty cool though. Return to Hogwarts and learn how to use a broomstick. Clopton, one of your classmates, then gives a tour around the school and is scolded for not listening to directions while I am praised. Kind of. I did install a mod for my broom and it did not work. It was supposed to be a trail, but it made my character invisible. Thankfully, it didn't break my game. Tired of walking, I go buy myself the most expensive broom I can and learn I can't ride it around town or inside Hogwarts. The shop owner asks for my help to improve the brooms with modifications. I do so and fly over Quidditch pitch, speak to Imelda Reyes, and I hate her the second she starts speaking. I'm not sure if it's just that they're Slytherin or female or both, but the female students in this game are very unlikable. She does nothing but insult you, and you can't really retaliate, because if I could, I definitely would have. She claims she's better than you on the broomstick, and I proved her wrong. I absolutely destroyed her time, and it was not even close. She tried making excuses like every woman does, but I'm just better. I did mess up pretty badly, but I still managed to beat her time. I thought there would have been a way to restart the race, but I didn't see any way to do so. I did attempt it again and shaved like 20 to 30 seconds off of my original time, even though it was still a bit hard to control, but as I played more, it became easier to control the broomstick. Reported back to Weeks, and he tried to rip me off with his overpriced modification. Why are the items in the shops so expensive? The game hates giving you gold. Maybe you earn more later, but as of right now, I'm struggling for gold. You meet with Sebastian and he shows us his secret hiding spot, and I tell him about how I'm the chosen one. Sebastian is easily the most fleshed out character in the entire game. It's like impossible to dislike him. He has a great motivation as well, wanting to cure his sister's curse. I leave the hideout and Sebastian's blind friend, Ominous, hears me leave and confronts me for entering his safe space, and makes me promise not to tell anyone about it. I barely interacted with him and disliked him as well, but I can cut him some slack for intruding on his special place. I helped some coward get proof he entered the hidden herbology corridor, and once I marched through and back, he asked for the proof and I declined giving it to him. It's pretty great I can just waste his time since he wasted mine. Finally, I unlocked the Room of Requirement, basically your own little personal room for crafting, upgrading clothing, or releasing your captured beasts. Fantastic Beasts is a pretty good movie, by the way, and this part was way too long. I didn't need a tutorial on how to customize my room. For a main quest, it sure did bore me. Report back to Fig about our ventures and lead him to the map observatory and speak to Rackham. He tells of 4 trials that must be completed by only me, but Fig tags along to ensure my safety, and we reach the location plagued by goblins. Thankfully, he teaches me a stealth attack, and I cleared a camp of parasites with no issue. The disillusionment spell combined with the sneak attack is pretty busted, since you can just walk behind someone and insta-kill them, unless it's a troll or you're extremely under-level. Break into the castle, climb the stairs, and another Rackham talking painting informs us that the trial is just below. Fig leaves and I make my way to the first trial. I don't exactly understand how Rackham is alive, or if that's just his spirit trapped inside of the painting, but I guess that doesn't really matter. I cleared the first trial with no problem. This whole game is like running on ice. It's so easy. The trial, it's nothing crazy. You do some brain dead puzzles, fight magical knight armor again, and to finish you fight a huge magic knight. And come on now, here's a pushover. I'm not joking when I say the game is easy. The bosses just feel like normal enemies with more health. Finished him off and collected my prize and another memory. It's like I'm getting flashbacks to Assassin's Creed, just reliving past memories like they're my own. You see some female rambling on about taking her father's pain away because he couldn't move on from his son's death. Again, I find it hilarious how this old man meets her when she is a child. You see a time skip and I'm assuming she's an adult. Somehow him with his long white beard is still living. How old is this guy? And is he even dead? So many mysteries to unravel, I doubt my questions will get answered. Return to Rackham and meet Charles, another Order member. Discuss some stuff and are interrogated once more. Get an idea to talk to the tranny bartender in Hogsmeade because it's friends with one of the goblins, and it says we should go talk to the demon. And I do, and surprisingly enough, he actually helps me out. I follow him to one of his sacrificial caves and discover the bodies of mutilated children. I leave the synagogue not finding his prized possession, a goblin helmet, because it was stolen by the Ashwinders. So I track them down, murder them all, and bring back the helmet. I wish I had the option to not side with the Israeli traitor, but unfortunately there isn't enough player choice in this game. I get to know some beasts with Poppy, the second best character in the game, and later a suspicious man teaches me how to be a YN. I got caught multiple times and nearly crashed out because I got to a point when I just wanted to finish the quest and kept rushing through, which kept getting me caught. I did notice that the more you were seen, the game would spawn fewer people who could spot you, which is kinda nice, I guess. I've always hated stealth in video games, and I feel like this just made me hate it even more. Unlock some beast area in the room of requirement that I didn't even use that much. I don't care about animals. I just let them starve. Meet up with Sebastian and meet his sister who was cursed by a goblin. No wonder he hates them so much. They are evil. His uncle hates him for trying to cure his sister, which doesn't really make sense, and sadly not much good comes from visiting Anne. We go to a destroyed house and discover a secret passageway back to the Undercroft. And after that, we meet some Indian guy in the astronomy class who lent me his telescope, but tricked me into coming with him to stargaze in some ominous looking area. Nettie and I rescue some hippogriffs, and I believe that was the last time I interacted with her. Complete the next trial and see Isadora taking the pain away from her father along with the reactions of the keepers. I don't understand why they didn't just put her down when they had the chance. Me and Poppy free a dragon from poachers and find an egg, and I was almost tempted to keep it, but Poppy was actually nice to me, so I decided to give the dragoness back her egg. And oh yeah, I meet the Indian guy, or at least I think he's Indian. Either way, I'm calling him Indian. Knows how to speak gobbledygook. Such a stupid name. An ancient goblin language. I ask for his help deciphering some goblin text, and he agrees, and we meet with the child trafficker. Amit speaks the goblin language, and Lodgok calls him out for having horrible pronunciation.
Greetings, Lodgok. It is an honor, sir.
You speak gobbledygook.
Oh, Bagalio.
Enough. Please do not tell me that was meant to be gobbledygook.
Amit and I sneak in to find evidence of what the goblins are planning, and it turns out they're digging tunnels. They were promised those tunnels 3,000 years ago. Sebastian and I team up again in hopes of total goblin annihilation, and we succeed. And by the end of the quest, I tell him I'm working with a friendly goblin, and he has a very rational reaction.
A friendly goblin. He wants no part in Ranrock's fight.
A friendly goblin? You know, goblins cursed my sister to shut her up. Said she should be seen and not heard.
I do, but not all goblins are...
Not all goblins what? Have you forgotten Feldcroft? Have you forgotten the mine we just went through?
No, Sebastian, I haven't. You're not listening to me.
Why would I listen to someone so ignorant?
I speak to Fig and inform him the next trial is located in the headmaster's office. Fig, being the genius he is, has a potion needed just for this moment. I drink it and turn into Professor Black in order to enter his office, which is located at the highest point in the castle. So I must track down his house elf and force him to tell me the password. And the elf does so without really questioning me, and I make my way to the office. The trial was probably my favorite amongst all of them, mainly because of the drastic change in art style, and everything is in black and white with this almost cel shaded looking filter on top, which I thought was actually pretty cool, aside from the stealth segment that was not fun at all. But the dueling section was pretty fun, even if it felt a little too drawn out. Hands down the best trial amongst all of them, and keeping with the trend, you are taken back once again and see Isadora being driven mad by the magic that she keeps collecting. It's odd how she's being shown as the villain when she doesn't really do anything evil. Yeah, she's crazy. I mean, yeah, she's a woman. But I wouldn't go as far as to call her evil, even after witnessing what happens in later memories. Once more, team up with Sebastian and explore the cavern controlled by goblins. Reach the end and find the final piece of the missing painting that I don't think I brought up until now. It's supposed to be a painting of Isadora, and once it's completed, she never appears in it, and you never get a true explanation as to why this is. I thought they were gonna do some twist about how she was actually the good guy and the keepers were trying to cover up the truth or something like that, but no, that would be far too interesting. Placing the final piece of the painting down, we get another memory armory and see Isidore conversing with the goblin, and she tells him how she's collecting pain and harnessing it. The same goblin who has been making the storage containers brag more, and because Sebastian sees this, he thinks it's the way to take away Anne's curse, and nothing really comes of this. His questline kind of just falls flat, and it's more annoying that you never were given the option to wield this dark magic, so you could potentially end his questline and remove her curse. Shortly after, go to some mine to ensure Lodgok's safety, and he ends up dying trying to retrieve a book that had the location of the harnessed magic, I think. And Ranrock is there, of course, and he's the one who kills Lodgok, his own brother. You couldn't have paid me to care. If anything, I was actually pretty happy. Lodgok was friends with Fig's wife, and Ranrock knew this and was not a fan. He claimed she was just using him, and I just find it hard to believe that anyone could trust something that looks that grotesque and evil looking. The mine falls apart due to the destruction that Ranrock was causing, and yeah, that's that. Lodgok dead forever. And I know it seems like I'm kind of rushing through the ending, but the story really speeds up towards like the final 2 to 3 hours, and I don't even think the developers were rushing this part of the game. It's just strange how abrupt the ending feels. The final trial is the one with the greatest reward amount. You fight the Lord of the Shore, and he is a damage sponge. I think it's probably because I was under level, but either way, he still took a lot of damage to kill. But I beat the Graphorn after about maybe 10 to 15 minutes of continuous spell casting, and right at the end, I bowed down instead of attacking him, and I attained my mount. Brought him to the pedestal and unlocked the door to the pensive. And it turns out Isidore is not only taking away pain, but emotions as well, or the people's souls, because look at his eyes. He became a soulless golem, and Isidore also has been doing the same thing to children, and I guess that's where the keepers drew the line. They could have just put a stop to this at any point, but they did nothing. Good job. And they find her magic in the magic chamber area, that's just what I'm gonna call it, and finally confront her. She retaliates and attacks one of the keepers, and as a result of her attacking, Avada Kedavra is used on her, instantly killing her. Speak with the keepers and tell me to have a special wand crafted. I do so, and Rookwood, Ranrock's right-hand man, decides it's time to finally fight, and he kidnaps me. And I murder everyone in the camp. It wasn't even a hard fight, I was just a little overwhelmed by being outnumbered. And the keepers finally open the path to the chamber after I'll go back to the map observatory and fight my way through the goblin hordes, because they had already started making their way to the magic chamber. I don't know what it's called, I really don't care. And once me and Fig's backs are about to be against the wall, all of the professors show up in Marvel Avengers fashion just in time, thanks to Fig finally telling Weasley that we were lying about literally everything. And we reach the door to the magic chamber. I use the special wand and we both enter. And Fig asks me what I would do with the magic, and I told him to open it, and somehow this is the bad choice, which doesn't make any sense. If this magic didn't exist, none of this would even be happening. That's clearly the correct choice to make, but somehow I'm made out to be evil for deciding that's what I would do. But it doesn't even matter, because Ranrock makes his grand entrance and breaks open the magic storage container and fuses with the magic, becoming a dark magical dragon. Makes sense. He ends up raging so much that rocks fall and crush Fig, one of my favorite characters, and he ends up dying, sadly. And of course, 3-phase boss battle unfolds, and I was pretty under level. I was like 4 levels under the level I should have been, and I thought about leveling before doing this. I had a feeling the boss would be at least level 30, and I was right, but I didn't do that, so yeah. It's not even that it was a hard fight, it's just that I was under level, and some of the attacks he was doing was just annoying me to the point where I was overthinking what I should be doing, and it just kept getting me hit, and I didn't really have many heals either, so that did not make things better. The Ranrock fight and Graphorn fight were the most memorable fights in the entire game from what I played. I stand by my statements earlier. Although Ranrock's fight was a bit more creative, but after many attempts I ended up beating Ranrock, and the final scene is remembering Fig, and I don't think this is the true ending. I just was not doing every single quest or whatever it is to 100% the game, I just wasn't doing that. I don't care enough to 100% a game. I just want to have fun my way instead of the game forcing me to play it how it wants me to play it. But after everything is over, I finally tell Sebastian that Rookwood was the real guy who cursed Anne because of something he said. In the middle of one of the, I guess, beam clashes, he said something, and I guess that kind of just pointed all fingers towards him, that he was the true curse giver. I'm not sure if this actually broke the curse or not, him dying, but I don't think they ever state that in game. Maybe you could see Anne and figure it out. I don't know. Yeah, I guess this kind of made him not hate goblins as much, but not me. And yeah, that's how the game ends. That's it. And I guess to end, I'll end with my final thoughts. And because I'm not the best at going into extreme detail, I'll just talk about the things that I liked and hated the most. And first, the most important is the gameplay, which I think the gameplay is perfectly fine. A lot of the time you're going to be floating enemies and trying to combo them as long as possible. Levioso is easily the most useful spell in the game. You're going to be using it most of the time. And when enemies are covered by a magic bubble, you just use that color to break it. Pretty simple but annoying at times when you have to wait to use your spell again, or you can just do what I did and replace the spell with another one of the same color. And there were a bunch of times I took damage because of these bubbles. And I think the flying in this game is much more fun on the broomstick over the hippogriff, because the hippogriff just takes too long to take flight and is more likely to get stuck on things compared to the broom. And it hates turning around if you do get stuck on something, so that's pretty annoying. And of course, the best part of this game is the exploration and world building. I think this has some of the best world building in a game arguably ever. They did a pretty good job of creating a magical feeling Harry Potter world, I guess is a way to put it. So I don't really have any complaints about that. They did a good job of making Hogwarts feel like Hogwarts. So it was a pretty immersive experience most of the time. The music did fit pretty well, even though it got repetitive in certain places like Hogsmeade in particular. All of the spells in this game are useful in some fashion. While you may not use all of them a lot, and every spell will be useful. And I do like the references to the movies and plan on watching them after this. Maybe not all of them, but at least one. I like the physics. I think those are good. So is the lighting, and I feel like that's really all I have to say for the positives. And for the negatives, probably the harshest that will ever be. While I do enjoy this game, it doesn't feel complete. What I mean is most of this game is doing random side activities, like go kill some enemies or use a potion. It's like a bunch of MMO side quests in order to advance the story. And I really think this holds the game back. I don't like the leveling system. It feels like a fake difficulty meter. So if you're under leveled, you're gonna take more damage and do less damage. Therefore, hard. That's hard, right? No, it's not. So many games do this to force you into doing side quests, therefore wasting your time doing things you probably don't even want to do. Blocking main quests until your certain level is so ridiculous. And it's not even that I was always struggling to level up, it just shouldn't exist in the first place. The gearing system also doesn't make any sense. How is it I pick up a piece of gear that's level 20 and another gear that's level 25, and the lower level gear has better stats? What's even the point in the gear? And on top of that, I really even upgraded my gear, and I did just fine without the upgrades. It's like they just added this to make the game have more depth, and it really doesn't add any depth. If anything, players don't even want this. Who wants to open their inventory every time they get a new hat? I said this earlier as a joke, but no, there isn't enough player choice in this game. I learned curse magic and used it in front of professors, and no one calls me out for it. Could you even consider this to be a real RPG? And you face no consequences. No real consequences. The game is stupid easy as well. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be fun, but there isn't much challenge. At least not until the very end, when enemies have higher levels than I do. But Harry Potter fans don't care. They see a magic game and get happy. And this happens with every single large IP. Just ignore the quality of the product and just consume it. And I experienced a few bugs, but like some student sitting in the air floating by me instead of walking, and my character's voice sounding like a robot. And I do have a very powerful PC, so I know it's not on my end, but I could not play with ray tracing on. I would get random frame drops and stuttering. And for every single single game I review, I purposely max out the graphical settings to see how well the game runs, and with ray tracing it did not run very well. Even with it off, I still got stuttering, but not nearly as bad as with it on. But I actually forgot a lot of the time that there's a skill tree in this game because I never felt like putting points into it. Although it was pretty useful in this game, I still don't like skill trees. Even when there's abilities like turning people into explosives and being able to throw them at enemies, and I guess the dodge is actually extremely useful. Especially against Ranrock. Yeah, I do think this is a good game. I just hope the sequel improves on these issues.